Hello everyone, and welcome back to another daily draft video here. My name is Jeff Hoagland, and thanks for tuning in. As we open our Pack 1 Pick 1 here, we've got a lot of interesting cards in it. We have the Tranquil Seed Heart again, which is a rare that we Pack 1 Pick 1'd a couple of days ago, and that draft deck ended up working out pretty well. I think I might end up picking this again. Other cards that are of note in this pack are, there's actually a lot of pretty good uncommons in this pack. Mindwrack Sorcerer, 1/3 lethal with Diligence is to make your opponent discard a card from their hand. Very, very reasonable. Monk, also a great card, 3/3 that Diligence gets 2/2 in Spell Shield, so like becomes a 5/5 with Spell Shield if you can keep attacking. Or Steel Shardsworn, very good if you can get some Consult the Talons, because it summons a Depth Crawler as well when it comes into play. Commons of note in this pack are Chastise and Mosh Pit Gladiator as playable, so that I wouldn't mind taking if it comes back around, but I'm going to go ahead and just pick up the Tranquil Seed Heart here, I think. Yeah, let's just snake that right on up there. And then we get past a Well of Instinct, so dollar bills, y'all. We might honestly end up playing this card, like we don't know what our second threshold is going to be just yet. Determined Bushy is a very good uncommon in Wild in this pack. Cards would be looking to come back around if we do end up in Sapphire Wild. Skyspire Scholar is an excellent Sapphire common. I actually wouldn't mind taking this card out of this pack too, just because like it sends the message that Sapphire is open. Crossing Swords is like reasonable removal. Mooncall Ceremony is another playable common. Talon Keep Watcher, been happy with that card in a lot of my diamond decks. I need a couple of them. I'm gonna go ahead and grab the Well for now though. Huh. This pack's got a lot going on in it. There's a Cloudbounder here that's very good. There's an Outflank that's playable. There's Crossing Swords. There's Cheap Shot. But we might not playing our Pack 1 Pick 1 here. I really like Underworld Officer, and the Blood Sapphire deck is super powerful, and this is one of the best cards in that archetype. It's a 2/2 that's unblockable that gets 1 power when it attacks for each Underworld troop you control, and this counts itself. So when this is attacking, it's at a minimum a 3/2 unblockable. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and pick the Underworld Officer up here and see how that feels. Just not committing to anything too early, trying to get a feel for what's going around. Cards that jump out at me as playable in this pack. This pack's kind of weak. Eager Lackey is playable if you're in Wild. It's a 1-cost 1/1 that conscripts a 4-cost Underworld troop, so it just generates value. Web Scribe, I think, is the pick that we're going to take if we're going to be playing Sapphire. So this is a 1/3 for 2 that whenever you gain a charge, it gives an opposing troop -2 power until end of turn. It really lets you kind of lock up the board while you kill your opponent with unblockable or evasive threats. The nice thing about this Well of Instinct here is we could end up splashing a powerful Wild card or two if we end up getting them. Like if we get a Tinkertron or 2 in Pack 3, we could easily splash this Tranquil Seed Heart as like a powerful top end. Pretty happy with these 2 picks though. Underworld Officer, this is just one of my favorite cards in this limited format. It's super powerful. I love that the bombs in this limited format are mostly uncommon and that the removal is also good and common. If we're really lucky, we'll get a second Underworld Officer in the second pack. Cards that I like in this pack. Tale of Insight, I think, is playable. Gives a troop Diligence, draw a card. I don't think we're going to end up in Ada, though, since we're obviously don't have any diamond cards yet, so I don't think I want to take Tale of Insight. It's a little bit worse when you don't have Phantoms to put it on. It's also kind of a liability putting on something like Underworld Officer, because they already want to kill this card. So like if you put Tale of Insight on it, they're like taking away 2 of your good things. I think Power and Pain's probably the best card here. It conscripts Underworld Troop with cost 4 and it gains all socketed powers of this, so I think I'm going to go ahead and pick this up. I'm not a big fan of Fury Smasher 3/1s for 2, just 1 toughness 2 drops are really not that good in this format. There's a lot of like 1/1s and random stuff like that they trade with. This pack. So we got a good diamond card in here, Gallant Spearcliff. It's one of my favorites for sure. We also have the Archaeoglider, which is a 2/2 flight spider for 3. I think I want to go ahead and pick up the Shadowblade Slicer though. This is a 3/3 with flight for 5 that scrounge 3 to give an opposing troop -3/-3 until end of turn. It's a very, very powerful blood card. It's like reasonably statted otherwise, and if you can scrounge it, it's just absolutely insane. Wow, this pack is really good for us. Would love for Blood's Favor and Conceal to come back around. Conceal gives a troop +1 power, makes it unblockable permanently. Blood's Favor has a discard at random mode, but usually you just like draw 2 cards and lose 2 life with this. Sometimes it can randomly like void your opponent's crypt and give you a bunch of life, but the card we're going to take out of here is definitely the cheap shot. Target opposing troop gets -1/-1 this turn, and you conscript a Underworld troop with cost 1. So this is a reasonable combat trick, and it can kill your opponent's early plays that would otherwise apply too much pressure to you. This pack, also pretty reasonable. Wicked Web Spawn says whenever you would scrounge, summon 2 Dreadlings. It was also a 2/2 for 2. Necropolis, Garroter says Diligence. This gets lethal until your next turn. I think I'm going to grab the Dread Apprentice actually in here. This is a 3/2 for 3 with Scrounge 1, summon 3 Dreadlings. The Dread Apprentice is a really good enabler for the Shadowblade Splicer because it's usually not too difficult to get 1 to 2 troops in your crypt, but getting all the way up to 3 for the Slicer can be difficult, and Dread Apprentice lets you turn 1 troop in your crypt into 3 the following turn, which is nice. I'm not quite sure exactly what plan we're going on yet. I think I'm going to pick up the Giant Centipede here, because if we end up on kind of a Dreadling plan, like pick up a Dreadbot Nurse for 2, this is a 1/1 for 2 that you could sacrifice to the troop to give it +2/+2. This could be plenty reasonable. I'm not a big fan of picking up Eldritch Shrieks, they're just kind of weak again. X1s for 2, not fantastic in this format. Dingle's kind of mediocre, and then this card's just way too expensive for the effect that it has, so I'm going to pick up the Giant Centipede, but I wouldn't be like super surprised if we end up not playing it. Mosh Pit Gladiator. This is just one of the premium blood combats in this format. It's a 5/1 for 4 that you can put the gem in it that it can't be blocked by troops with power less than it. So it's basically can't be blocked by things unless they have 5 power or more. I'm going to hide the Seed Heart. Ooh, and a Cheap Shot came around. Yep, Cheap Shot's the only thing I'm really interested in this pack. Inkheart Infuser isn't particularly playable. Hide the Well of Instinct and the Tranquil Seed Heart here. And like, this is a good example, like, if you want to kind of try and read and feel like what you're getting past. Like, our pack 1 pick 1 and our pack 1 pick 2 we're just like not even playing in this deck most likely. I'm gonna grab the Archeo Glider. This card's like not super impressive, like a 2/2 flight for 3, but it's good against the 8 deck since a 2/2 flight blocks Phantoms really well. Nothing super playable in this pack. I'm going to pick up the Furious Smasher just because we might end up being light on 2s, but I don't think we're going to end up playing it, so I'm going to go ahead and throw it here in the reserves for now. We already have like 10 theoretical playables here. I'm going to grab the Bloodbearer as well. Again, not sure if this is actually going to see play in our deck, but it's on Shard, and if our deck pivots in a certain way with the next 2 packs, it might be playable. One important thing to remember when looking at our deck here is this Power and Pain, we play it on 2, but it creates a 4-drop, so like this is a 2-cost card that's not affecting the board on 2, so it's kind of deceptive when you're like thinking about what your curve's going to be while looking at it. Sure, let's take another Centipede. Next, I'm going to hide this first one because I don't think he's particularly good. So would like some more 2s and 3s, would love another Underworld Officer. That would be the present we are looking for in pack 3 here, or pack 2, just like get another Underworld Officer. I think I would rather have an Underworld Officer than an on-Shard Bomb. Alright, there's a Red Bot if we want to splash more wild stuff. Malevolent Machination is actually probably playable in this deck, right? We've got an Underworld Officer, a Dread Apprentice, Shadowblade Splicer, Cheap Shots, Conscript, Underworld things. This does 2 damage to an opposing champion or troop for each different race among Underworld troops you control. So on average, this is like a shock gain 2, and the ceiling on this is pretty high. It can deal like 4 or 6 points of damage. There's another Dread Apprentice in here that we would love to see wheel, and I don't think Windswim is particularly playable, especially in this deck, so I'm going to go ahead and pick this up, I think. The rest of this pack is actually fairly mediocre. None of these wild cards are particularly good. So I wouldn't be too surprised if the Dread Apprentice doesn't come back around just because it's one of the more powerful cards in the pack. And there's our second Underworld Officer that we asked very nicely for, so just like snapping that up. Would love to see the Skittering Cultivator come back around because we do need some more 2-drops, but like I said, Underworld Officer is one of the best cards we could hope for. Could be greedy and hope for a 3rd one, because if our opponent passed us this one, they're definitely passing us a 3rd one, right? We've already got like 3 basically unblockable troops here. We've got 2 officers and the Mosh Pit Gladiators mostly unblockable. And then we've got a 5-drop with evasion as well, so feeling pretty good. Yeah. Alrighty. Waiting for the pick. We're actually pretty light on Sapphire in this deck so far, too. But, like, Underworld Officer alone is worth splashing for, in my opinion. Actually, you know, it's funny. Like, if we see, like, really good wild cards come back around, we could even pivot into wild and just, like, splash the Underworld Officers off of the Well of Instinct. Wow, this pack's really good, too. We've got Guardian Grulk is probably a little bit too big for this deck, but this is a bomb in general. It's a 4/4 flight that exhausts 2 of your troops to exhaust an opposing target troop. Skittering Cultivator is very reasonable. Blood's Favor is very reasonable. Zenthos Hunger is very reasonable because it's quick. You can sacrifice not only a Dreadling, but like something they're targeting with a removal spell. I think I'm just going to pick up the cheap shot so we can just be like king of the combat tricks. Because, especially once they see the first cheap shot, they tend not to play around them quite as much, so picking up a third one of those is excellent. Man, this pack's got a lot going on in it too. So we've got a Sky Spire Scholar that's super reasonable. I think this is probably going to be the pick. We also have a 3/5 flight for 5 that it readies at the start of each turn. The reason why I'm going to lean towards the Sky Spire Scholar is it fills out our early curve a little bit better than another 5-drop does. But this is double Sapphire. This is only single Sapphire. So if we could avoid picking up single Sapphire cards, I think that would be good. I don't think Boomshroom is great. This is a 1/5 that says when another troop dies, it gets +1 power permanently, and then when this dies, it deals damage equal to its power to everything. So I don't think we want to be sweeping our board away a lot of the time in this deck. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick the Sky Spire Scholar up here. This is a nice card to have. It's one of the cards that like rewards you for playing slightly more resources, like I like to in this format, because you're generally going to hit 6 resources, and then you get to activate this. So the 2 cards that jump out at me in this pack are the Windborn Ascension, because this can possibly create another evasive threat for us since it conscripts a 3 cost with flight. But the card I'm actually going to pick is the Butcher, because I do just like, you know, quality removal. Destroy target exhausted troop is very good. It misses some important things in the format, like the Vigilant Duskwing and the Phoenix Guard Lancer, but in general, a lot of the scary things that are attacking you are exhausting to do so Butcher is super reasonable. Got 3 cheap shots and a Butcher so far. Would like 1 to 2 more. I guess Machinations is removal too. Would love another piece of removal or 2, but this deck's shaping up pretty well. Probably prioritize picking 2 drops at this point. Would like another Web Scribe or a Skittering Cultivator, ideally. So in this pack, I think Cerulean Sage is objectively the best card that's in our shards, but I think I want to pick up the Necropolis Garroter just because of the Underworld synergy between the Machinations and the Underworld Officers. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and pick that up. This can also trade up a lot of the time when it gets lethal with Diligence, so I think that's fine. So there's a second Slicer up here, but it's going to be kind of hard to enable even the first one. Yeah, I can't pass up another cheap shot, right? That sounds great. This is technically an Underworld troop as well. This pack, happy to pick up another Mosh Pit Gladiator here, just like a 4th unblockable troop. Sounds excellent. Even when your opponent has things with 5 power, we can like cheap shot them for a turn to like push our Mosh Pit Gladiators through, so happy to snake that one on up there. And again, as happens in most drafts in this format, we're already at like 17 playable cards here, and we're only through pack 2, and I probably want to play 18 resources anyway, so we only need like 5 more playable cards, and I've got a pack and a half to go, so usually not hurting for playables when you're drafting right. This is the wild pack that came back around. Take the Jurassic Spark out of here. I'm going to take the Friar Tusk, actually, since it's the only playable diamond card. None of the wild cards are particularly exciting, and Friar Tusk could be playable in someone's deck, so I might as well cut them off of that. Nothing particularly exciting in this pack. None of the cards in this pack are very good. Feral Root Tactics gives a troop 4/4, and if it's Valorous, it gives a Crush until end of turn. And Blood-Eye Defiler is a 3/5 for 5 that people play. Both these cards see play on occasion, but I don't think either of them are great. I guess I'll grab the Blood-Eye Defiler because we might board that in against like an aggressive deck where we need to gain some life. Yeah, I'm gonna grab the Zenthos Hunger. Sounds great. I might even main deck this. I'm gonna put this into here for now. We'll see how the rest of this ends up. We don't have a lot of Dreadlings to sacrifice this to, but this can, like, enable us an extra Scrounge Troop without feeling too bad about it, and also sacrificing, like, the random 1-drops or cheap shots are generating for us probably won't be the worst. I'm going to grab Outflank because it's the most playable card in the pack. We've already got 2 Centipedes that we're probably not playing, and the same with the Blood-Eye Defiler, so this is just like a really playable combat trick that a Diamond player is hoping to get back around. I actually really like Tomb Swap grabbing this late. Puts a troop from your crypt back into your hand and summons a Dreadling. And when we have, you know, 2 Underworld Officers and 2 Mosh Pit Gladiators here, this is basically just like another unblockable threat for us, essentially. Because it's going to rebuy something that's very powerful. I'm going to cut the Glider for now. Probably getting to the point where our deck is good enough that we don't need that. We got cut on Sapphire pretty hard in these packs, but our Blood is fantastic, and the few Sapphire cards that we have are powerful, so I'm not too upset with how things ended up for us. We need like 4 playable cards in this last pack. We got a Zenthal Zealot. It's a 3/2 for 2 that when it becomes blocked, you draw the top card of your opponent's deck and it loses its threshold, so it's probably one of the best uncommons we could have opened. I don't think any of the other cards in this pack are great that are on shard for us. Dust Scout's like mediocre at best. There aren't a ton of Ardent Troops in this format, so this is mostly just like a 2/2 for 2. So Zenthal Zealot is much, much better for sure. It's also a Venom, which we're kind of light on in terms of races, so that'll make our Machination slightly better adding a Venom to the mix here. Mostly Necrotics. Which is fine. Like, this card is playable, I think, as a deal 2, gain 2, so not a big deal. Especially in Limited, it's playable as a deal 2, game 2. Alright, what does this pack have going on here? So, Indigo Trickster is a 1/3 for 2 that when it deals damage to an opposing champion, it transforms a random non-resource card to their hand into another card of the same shards. This card, I think, is unplayable in Limited. You're often turning, like, Chafe into other Chafe, and occasionally you can turn their Chafe into a bomb, and I think you're more likely to upgrade one of their cards than you are to downgrade one of their cards, unlike in Constructed. We definitely don't want this spoil, like we already have 4 cheap shots, so we're not playing that. I don't think Blackfire Sorcerer is great either. It's kind of like we could put the unblockable gem in it, but it's not really unblockable when you only have 3 power compared to 5. I think I'm just going to cut the Fireball here, because it's one of the objectively best cards in the pack. Broodnet, happy to pick this up. Exhaust target troop, and then it gets to the start of your turn, so it says 3 power or less exhausted, so this is basically like permanent removal for something that is 3 power or less. Worth noting, second Mama Yeti going around, so if someone picked up some babies, they're going to be very, very happy. Again, looking at the cards in these packs, the strength of a Ruby deck when you draft in this format is largely based on your pack 3 picks, and if we had gone into Ruby in pack 1 and pack 2, we'd have like 2 Fireballs right now, so you know, sometimes it's a gamble that pays off. Still, like I said, pretty happy with what we got going on so far here, though. This pack actually has a few good cards for us. We have Jet Cadet here, which is a 2/1 flight for 2. It's just like a really reasonable, proactive play that we can play out on 2. There's also a Veiled Lurker though, and this is a 2/2 that's unblockable. When you have triple Sapphire Threshold, it gets +1/+1. I'm gonna lean towards picking the Jet Cadet in this pack because our Sapphires are splash, so we're likely not gonna have triple Sapphire Threshold until late a lot of the time. This is also a Dwarf as opposed to, I guess Venom and Dwarf are both kind of light on, right? Yeah. Taste for Blood is also reasonable, but I think I'd rather pick up another Underworld here for pressure. Also, games where you go like Jet Cadet on 2 into Underworld Officer on 3, you just like have evasive threat into evasive threat, you're gonna get to pressure your opponent a lot. I think our curve is low enough in this deck that I don't want a Windborn Savant, even if it is kind of a good tempo play that blocks. Actually, I was going to say I'm going to take the Naive Lackey, but I don't think we're going to play it. I think I'm actually more likely to take this card and then board it in against the Ada Flyers deck. I suppose I could also just like snake this Drain Soul, destroy target troop, Underworld Allegiance, gain 4 life. This will probably create swings that we want. I'm gonna pick this up. It's a little expensive, but I think it might be reasonable in this deck. Taste for Blood. Yep, definitely snaking that. That gives a troop +2/+2 and life drain permanently, and it starts kind of expensive at a 7 cost, but every time a troop you control attacks, if this is in your hand, it gets -1 cost permanently, so it kind of ticks itself down and enables. I think we can cut the Zenthos Hunger. We don't have a ton of Dreadling action going on. Got like 1 Tomb Swap and 1 Dread Apprentice. I'm pretty happy with this deck. I wonder if 4 cheap shots is too many. That seems like insanity to say, but it might be. See how the rest of this pack goes. Pretty happy. We got a Broodnet, Butcher, Machinations. Nothing too exciting in this pack. I'm actually going to draft the Baby Yeti because we passed 2 Mama Yetis. So I want someone to have had a much worse draft. So someone in Ruby picked up one of those mamas hoping a baby was going to come around, and we're just going to cut that out. And this is one of those things where, like, it's worth noting cards that are in packs that you're not drafting, because there's things like Baby Yetis and Mama Yetis in this format that are worth cutting so your opponents can't have them. Nothing super exciting in this pack. I don't think we're going to play a Deadeye Charger. I'm actually going to grab the Tinkertron. I just think this card's really powerful and people undervalue it. I don't think we're going to play that either, but I think it's better than that other card. Nothing exciting here either. I'll grab the 2/2 for 2. Nothing exciting in here. Again, I'm going to take the Brew Crown Basher, just because someone's hoping to grab this for synergy purposes, and I'm going to cut them off of that. Nothing super exciting in here. I'm going to grab the Shock Duster, just because, like, it's an okay combat trick that you might bring in against an aggressive deck here or there. Yep, again, just, like, take these Bashers away from someone that's counting on them, hopefully. Yeah, nothing exciting. Freebooter's not really playable because we don't have enough Ardents, but probably the most playable card in the pack. Another Shock Duster. And then, as far as resources go in this deck, probably, almost certainly going to go 10 and 8, right? I don't think you really want to go less than... I think you really want to go less than 8 a lot of the time. You want to just kind of hit it consistently. We've only got 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 7 Sapphire cards. I think that's fine. We don't actually have a ton of Double Blood cards either in this deck. It's just like... It's actually exactly Shadowblade's Placer, right? Yeah, well, we didn't get any Strangles or anything like that, which isn't awful. So yeah, we're gonna go 10 Blood, and then 8 Sapphire, and then I think this feels like a Renner deck to me. I'm really not a fan of a lot of the Sapphire champions, especially when Sapphires are splash color. I actually think the best Sapphire champion in this format is the 3 charge draw discard one. What's his? Let's filter these real quick here. I think Blue Sparrow is the best one. Draw a card, then choose and discard a card for 3 charges, but it requires double Sapphire threshold. I don't think this is a Takahiro deck. Sacrifice a troop, gain 3 life, draw a card. I think I'd rather just play Renner, and like it takes a random card off the top of their deck, but that's not entirely different than getting like drawing a random card from your deck. And his starting health total is really high. Like 24 health is not to be understated. It gives us usually the difference in health total with him is going to be the difference between an entire turn when you're racing with our Mosh Pit Gladiators and our Underworld Officer. So I'm going to grab Minor Orbs of Blood, Intimidation in these, so they can't be blocked. And then I think Power and Pain, I want the same thing in here. Can't be blocked by troops with power less than. I could see Speed being reasonable too. Feel free to drop me a message in the comment what your preferred thing on Power and Pain is. I don't think either of the Sapphire sockets are pretty good. It's Dreadlings and... I guess Dreadlings could be okay. It's like another... Yeah, actually, I don't think Intimidate is particularly good in this card, and putting the Summon Dreadlings in it means that we have another way to enable Scrounge on our Shatterblade Splicer, which is a pretty big payoff card. It can also like help enable Assault for something like Taste for Blood. Alright, as always, thanks for watching my Draft Today video. My name is Jeff Hoagland. Remember, if you want to support my content, there's a few different ways you can do so. The first doesn't cost you anything. It's hit that subscribe button there on YouTube, or follow me on Twitter and Twitch. The next way is you can purchase cards from hexprimal.com. They buy and sell Hex CCG singles with the code Jeff5. It gets you 5% off of your order, and it helps support my content. You can also support me directly by subscribing through Twitch, which does cost $4.99 per month, or supporting on Patreon at varying amounts. There's links in the video description below for all those different things, as well as finding lots more videos by me. I'll be back tomorrow with another draft, folks. Thanks for hanging out.